How's it, punters? Welcome back to the Best Sports Betting Podcast. And it's been a pretty crazy weekend of sports results, especially with the football. Simon did call some nice wins in the Champions League, and we didn't unfortunately hit that. Both teams to score in the Man City versus Liverpool game, which we'll jump into in a bit. Simon, nice prediction there with it was Benfica on the handicap.
Yeah, it was a good one. It was a Messi-less PSG that faced Benfica, and it ended up being a 1-1 draw. That was I thought that was actually some great value there, considering Benfica really have improved over the last couple of seasons, and they were really at the business end of the Champions League last season. So I thought that was quite a short price there on PSG. But other English teams. Chelsea picked up a 2-0 win against Milan. City drew 0-0, but obviously playing a sort of
very third string side almost.
Yeah, so obviously they have a massive goal advantage. They already beat them. I think it was 6-0 in the first leg, so nothing too much to say about that. And then Liverpool thrashed Rangers, perhaps a little surprisingly, 7-1, which was quite a result. And then Spurs, we both it wasn't a pick of ours, but we were quite bullish on Spurs to beat Frankfurt at home, and they actually struggled a little bit, but they did get through that fixture in the end and ended up winning 3-2 with a red card involved.
Yeah, so I didn't get involved in the Champions League as I said, and I think if I did, I probably would have lost a couple packets there. The only bets I really had were the ones that we mentioned in the pod, and I did go in on that both teams to score in the Liverpool game, which we might as well jump into some of that Premier League action now. But before we do that, I do want to say something. I've bought myself a new AC Milan T-shirt.
Oh, nice! You got it now, brilliant.
Yes, the last one that I had was from like 2002 or something like that. And it's got a player's name on the back. So if there's any podcast listeners out there that can guess the player's name, it's from, I don't want to give too much away, but it was from around 2003, 2004. If you can guess who I have printed on the back of that old shirt, I'll give you 3 guesses. Put it in the comments. If anyone gets it right, I'll give them a 100 Rand 1 for you voucher. Only open to South Africans though. And what we'll do is we'll do something like this every week, and we'll roll over that prize if no one gets it right. So,
nice.
It's not Dida. So that's maybe the era. I think is probably the most accurate. It's not the keeper Dida. There's a little bit of a hint for you. But let's jump straight into the Premier League results. And Leicester drawing with Crystal Palace 0-0. Fulham Bournemouth 2-2. Wolves beating Forest, and then Spurs beating Everton 2-0. Am I looking at the right ones here? Okay. I'm just wondering, because I was watching most of the matches on Sunday, because that was the action-packed day where Chelsea is still looking good, and I said they're the ones to start backing at the moment. They're just looking so solid, chugging along under the radar. Excellent value there. I still think there's some value going forward on Chelsea, doing very well under Potter. And Arsenal picking up a squeaky bum 1-0 win over Leeds there. Still top of the table now. Looking good. So they're going to be having a break in this game week. And then we had United taking on Newcastle. Pretty interesting game. I watched the whole game there. Did you catch that one, Simon?
Yeah, I did. I did catch it all. And I must say, I wasn't necessarily expecting a goal fest, but I was quite surprised at a sort of 0-0 draw there. But it was quite an absorbing game, I must say.
It was a cracking game.
Yeah, it wasn't, for a 0-0 draw, it certainly had a lot of action. There was a lot of action from both sides, a very sort of evenly contested match. And it was certainly worth the 90 minutes, despite it ending in a stalemate.
Like, I fancied United to win then. I still think it's the right choice, and I kind of feel like they probably should have won that game, just on the balance of play and, some of the shenanigans that went on. How many penalty shots did they need to...
Yeah. Gosh.
Wow, and a couple of those I would have given, to be honest. I'm really surprised Newcastle didn't concede a penalty there, because some of those challenges were good challenges, but you're catching the player rather than the ball, and at least the referee was consistent. I think that's the takeaway there. But United just struggling to put the ball in the back of the net at the moment. Even Ronaldo had to pull a bit of a scallum one to try and put that.
He did, didn't he?
And there's been a lot of debate over whether that was a goal or not. It's not a goal. Come on, it wasn't a tricky little free kick by Newcastle. They're sitting so deep in their own half. The defender clearly kicked the ball back. The referee still has his hand up in the air. The whistle's in his mouth. Pope, the players didn't even turn around when Ronaldo stole the ball and slotted it away. So really not much of an argument there, in my opinion. And I would feel the same way if Newcastle had done that to United. Then Southampton drawing with West Ham. And of course, the big one was Liverpool versus City. And fancied City there. City with a host of chances. Just, yeah, so many chances. Cancelo had an absolute nightmare of a game. Wow.
Yeah, he did. I mean, look, it was definitely it wasn't the best performance from City. I mean, Haaland was also not firing on all cylinders, and I would love to say that Liverpool kind of played out of their socks for that 1-0 win, but it wasn't a fantastic performance from Liverpool. Obviously, we like both teams to score in the first half at very big odds, which certainly didn't come in. I mean, there were more chances in the second half, but look, I mean, both sides sort of felt each other out and created chances which weren't converted. A couple of really big ones from Haaland, one from Salah, obviously, who kind of had a very sort of he had his game face on for sure.
He's
quite
back. I want to
interesting.
say he's back.
Yeah, he just looked very, very determined. Obviously didn't Liverpool getting the 1-0 win there, but Salah had plenty chances. But one thing about this game, and I mean, I don't even know if it's this game in particular, but for some reason it just kind of got to me. It's just the VAR to me is just not worth the disruption, the confusion, the anticlimax it kind of brings to almost every football game these days. And the reason I say that is because it's not because I don't want the right decisions to be made. Of course I do. But I think referees at the end of the day are professionals. They're not biased in reality. Come on, let's be honest with ourselves. And the mistakes I think that they inevitably will make, right, in times where we don't, let's say if we scrapped VAR, would even themselves out over time. So I don't think that not having VAR would give one team the upper hand over another in the long term. I think it'll all sort of cancel itself out. To me, it just irritates me. I hate the stop-start nonsense.
Yeah.
Goals getting cancelled. I just think that the chances are if you benefit from one poor decision on one week, the next week or maybe the week after, you're going to benefit from it. So, sorry, if you benefit, then you're going to be disadvantaged the following week. I just think, let the game run its course, accept that referees will make mistakes and the teams will sometimes benefit and sometimes be disadvantaged. But to me, to start the game all the time, reverse goals, to me, it's such a dampener on the experience for the fans, for the players. I really honestly wish it would just be scrapped. I was quite happy about it when it first came in, but to me, VAR is honestly just ruining football.
So I have a slightly different opinion there. I like VAR. I just think it needs to be implemented a little bit better. So I agree with all the points that you've brought up now, but I think it is good for those decisions where the referee gets it horribly wrong. But I don't like the stop starts, as you mentioned. And another thing I really don't like is how far they go back in the passage of play. That's
Absolutely.
something that they should, maybe 1 or 2 touches before, but you can't go back 4 or 5 touches and then the guy tugged his shirt or something. That's too bad. That should have been called then.
Exactly.
It's a little bit like rugby when they introduced that as well with these guys in the ruck and they touch the ball and there's they touched the ball 6 phases ago and it was a knock on because
and then it's a try resulting.
Something. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, look, so in this game, I'm not going to say that this game was particularly bad, and I think that the referee did a great job, Anthony Taylor. And I think that obviously the decision being that there was the foul on the goalkeeper, which, I mean, I don't know, that was a 50-50 for me, but it just kind of pushed me over the edge. It was the nail in the coffin as far as VAR concerned. It's just in such a game where there were so many chances, and eventually this goal comes and it's reversed. And I'm not a City or a Liverpool fan. I was just this is just so frustrating.
Yeah.
But there are probably better examples of matches where it's actually got in the way more. But I do agree with you. I think that there obviously are benefits to it, and if we are going to implement it, we have to have hard and fast rules about how far we can go back.
Yeah.
I just think the way it's being used right now is to the detriment of the sport, for the fans, everyone.
Yeah, it definitely does need some sort of change or some kind of. I mean, they've got the rules and the stuff set out there, but it's also a bit vague. Well, not really vague, but not everyone's maybe that familiar with all of it.
Yeah, implementing it the same way.
It's a little bit too complex for a game of football. I mean, but yeah. But anyway, moving on to some of the upcoming matches. I don't want to call it a double game week because we've got matches taking place tonight and we've got matches taking place over the weekend.
Yeah.
And Arsenal and Man City are having a kind of game week break. Their game was postponed. So there are a couple of matches that I do like. One in particular is Brentford versus Chelsea. I fancy Chelsea here at 1.74. And yes, Tony's looking great. The guy is, I mean, he's scored almost as many goals as Kane has this season. But Brentford just aren't looking that good defensively. Chelsea at 1.74 is a strike that I really, really like. I think that's probably going to be one of my bets of the week. I think there's great value there. What are your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, no, I think that is decent value. I just, one thing that I just kind of, as soon as I looked at the card, just kind of thought, wow, like things have changed. I mean, to see Brighton at odds of 1.42 to beat anybody, you know, in top division of English football was quite some. I don't necessarily disagree with that price, but it just shows.
I think that's more reflection on Nottingham Forest than, than on Brighton.
It is absolutely. But and obviously we know that Brighton are a fairly good home team. I just saw that, I was like, wow. But yes, I think I'm also with you on the Chelsea train. I think that they are kind of flying a little bit. I mean, they never fly completely under the radar because they're obviously a very, very strong top 4, maximum top 6 side. But they are flying slightly under the radar, and I think there is a touch of value there. Look, Brentford have been obviously one of the strong. In fact, I think they're currently 3rd or 4th on the home league table. So they do have a very good home record. But yes, I can't disagree. I think Chelsea look a touch of value there.
Yeah, I've also been watching quite a few Brentford games this season because they are entertaining to watch, and I just think Chelsea will have too much, and I'm going with like a 2-1 kind of win, maybe even Chelsea keeping a clean sheet. But I really like that 1.74. Then we have Newcastle taking on Everton. Everton are just so hard for me to kind of get at the moment. They're really struggling up front to score. Newcastle should be winning this game, 1.64. And just looking at the recent form, how they played against United, creating plenty of chances. Trippier's on fire. Wilson's looking good. Almiron, I don't know what happened to him this season. It's completely changed from last season. Much more in the action. I'm still missing a few players, though. I'm not sure I want to jump on that 1.64. I think it's a little bit short, but I still think Newcastle probably win this one, like maybe 2-0, even with Everton's solid defense. Everton just really, really struggling up front, and the Newcastle defense is actually looking really solid.
Yeah, no, it is. The game involving Newcastle that actually piqued my interest was because United are playing on Wednesday, and I thought that the United home price against Newcastle was actually quite big. I must say, if you think that there were evens, United were evens. Sorry, I'm talking about Spurs and United. If you think that United were evens against Newcastle at home, and now they're 2.54 against Spurs, I actually think there's a little bit of value in United there. And don't get me wrong, I think Spurs are definitely going places this season, and I've been touting them from day one. But I must say, I was quite surprised at that 2.5, 2.55 on United there. I was expecting about 2.3, 2.35. So I actually think there's a little bit of value on backing United at home there. But
I like the draw in that one. I really like a draw there. I think they're going to cancel each other out. Actually, I really like unders in that game, to be honest. It kind of screams like a game where there should be lots of goals, but Spurs haven't been scoring too many. United just haven't been scoring at all. I think they've actually got a negative goal difference. I'm just off the top of my head. And I think this is going to be a draw. I'm just looking at the unders. Under 2.5, Simon, is 2.1 for under 2.5. I think that is cracking value, to be honest. Yeah, absolutely cracking. I'm going to stick that into our week's accumulator. It's going to be a long shot one we'll take this week, but I can't look past that price. It's too high. Even both teams to score no at 2.31 is also a great punt. I don't see both teams scoring. Look, and United could come right, and it's football, anything can happen. But I think if you're looking at this game for some value, I think it's going to be with the unders. Just based on how the teams are looking. Spurs picking up 1-0 wins all over the show. Haven't really put up a tally. Maybe a 1-1 draw or something like that. But I think this is going to be a low-scoring draw. Yeah,
look, as I said, based on the odds there, I see a touch of United. If I had to pick a side, I would take United on the draw, no bet there. But I think, absolutely a draw, an unders draw, a 1-1, something like that. I don't see either team running away with it in this one.
Right, then we have Fulham taking on Aston Villa. I'm going to skip through most of the boring fixtures, and there are a lot of boring fixtures. We have Liverpool taking on West Ham, and Liverpool looked all right against. They looked much improved against City. Look, they did concede a lot of chances. I think if City's finishing was better on the day, it would have been would have been a different outcome. And Cancelo just not playing well. Also at the same time, Diaz a little bit greedy, or Nunez was rather greedy. I mean,
Yeah.
a couple of chances he could have just passed off to Salah to.
Yeah, I think Liverpool also took. I agreed. I think Liverpool did, take the ball off City in key areas, and I think they played fairly well. But I think you could almost see it on their faces actually after the match. I don't think that they were 100% worthy of their win over
No,
City.
they would. It should have been a draw. A draw would have been a fair result.
Exactly. I think that they played perhaps, I wouldn't even say slightly better even than people expected. I think they put in a sort of a fairly average performance, and City missed a lot of chances, and obviously they did too. But I think that it wasn't the most encouraging performance I've seen from Liverpool.
No, but it is an improvement though. I mean, going back a couple of weeks, how many goals are they been conceding, and to not concede against a team like City, even if City spurned so many chances, it's a good sign for Liverpool, and I'm going to be looking at backing them going forward. They should have no trouble beating West Ham at 1.46. It's West Ham's not great on the road, and that's reflected in the price. 6.4 on West Ham there. I don't think they have a dog's chance. So I'll be putting a Liverpool into my accumulator. Then, Simon, we've got matches coming up over the weekend, and obviously we're going to speculate on these because there's midweek matches, there's going to be injuries, players are going to get rested, all that kind of jazz, but we're still going to look at it because we're not going to be doing a podcast on Friday for these. And there's a big fixture coming up that we'll chat about there as well. Which is Chelsea versus Man United. And Chelsea are almost even money for this match at home against United. And that, for me, is another great bet, especially if Chelsea pick up a win against Brentford. Even if they pick up a draw against Brentford and they look good, I still want to back Chelsea against United. Chelsea for me are the better side at the moment.
Look, as I mentioned earlier, I think we both agree that Chelsea seem to be steadying the ship and also kind of flying a bit under the radar at the moment. I would have liked a slightly bigger price. Like, I was a little bit disappointed. I was hoping to see, sort of like 2 and a bit, 2.05 to 11 to 10, something like that. It's not sort of the most exciting price to me, but I'm also wanting to back Chelsea in this spot. I mean, and I'm all right with that price. I would have wished it could have been a little bit bigger.
Well, depending on what happens over the weekend, we could see that one.
Absolutely.
During the midweek games, we could see that one drift out a little bit. And I still think anything around even money, even what it is now, 1.95, 1.96, I still think that's a decent punt. So I'll definitely be getting in on some of that action. I just don't trust United at the moment, and they've been on like a pretty good winning streak. They've looked. I don't want to say they're in good form, but they're playing well enough to be in 5th place or wherever it is they're sitting on the table.
That United Spurs match, which is happening on Wednesday, kind of sets up one of my long shots for the week, which I really like actually, and that's a draw between Spurs and Newcastle.
I think Spurs take that one. I think that they're gonna obviously they're gonna really go all out against United. Really want to take all 3 points there, and I think they absolutely can take all 3 points there. As I said, I thought there was a little bit of value in United, but I think it's going to be a very absorbing game. I think having Newcastle, travel to London to play them, I think that's going to be a tricky game. So I like 3.8 on the draw there. I think that's a nice place for Newcastle to pick up a point. So I think this is a pretty bad matchup for Newcastle, just in the way that Spurs lay their team out, in the way that they approach the game. They're very much counter-attacking. They want the other side to hold onto the ball. They want to take the ball off them. And Newcastle have struggled in those kind of positions so far this season, where they're forced to take on the ball and hold the ball and play tap around, and build up attacks. It's not really what they're used to. They're still building into that, and I think Spurs are like a dangerous team against when it comes to playing against that kind of style. Spurs are happy to let you have the ball. They'll just take it off it and take you off it and hit you on the counter attack, and I'm worried about that. That's why I like Spurs to win this one. I think that price is also pretty decent on Spurs. A draw is a good call, but I'm definitely leaning Spurs for that one. I don't see Newcastle walking away with too much from that game. I think we'll be lucky if we get a draw, to be honest.
Yeah.
Then we have Arsenal taking on Southampton, and Arsenal 1.6. I mean, is there any value backing Arsenal away at 1.6 against the Saints? Arsenal, I mean, incredible form, and I still feel like they're getting a little bit disrespected by the bookies with that price. Maybe should be a little bit lower. I mean, considering just how well they've played and they've just beaten everyone that they've put in front of them. If they can beat Leeds, then surely they can beat Southampton.
Sure. Yeah. No. Look. I mean, I can't say that the price is too short. I think it's about right. But yeah. Look. I mean, I think they should absolutely win that game.
And then Liverpool taking on Nottingham Forest should be a pretty easy win for Liverpool there as well. And not too much else to talk about in that game week, so I think we're going to jump over to the T20 World Cup, which is kicking off, and talking about that, Betway have a nice Betway all-rounder promotion where you can win a share of up to $1 million, basically by making selections, choosing run scorers, placing bets, that kind of thing. So it's going to be a kind of prediction game. I Betway have been rolling out a lot of these recently, so if you guys want to go check that out, it is free to play. And definitely worth playing if you are going to be watching T20. It's not going to cost you anything. You just get extra entries for more bets you place. But yeah, Simon, what are your thoughts on the T20? I've put my prediction down as England. I didn't give it much thought. Why don't you fill us in on the two?
Yeah, so I mean, first things first. I mean, it's going to be hosted. It is being hosted in Australia. It's the T20 World Cup. Unfortunately for us, Australia is nine hours ahead of us. So most of the matches will actually be over by lunchtime. So the late starts are 10 a.m. So basically everything's done by sort of 12, 1 o'clock. So it is going to be a morning tournament for us South Africans, which is obviously not ideal in during the week, but nevertheless, it's kind of a funny situation as well, because you have some warm-up matches that are still taking place at the same time as the first round matches for other teams. So for instance, like tomorrow, the Proteas play their last warm-up match against Bangladesh. Tomorrow, but there actually have been 5 matches already of the actual World Cup, so it's kind of a strange one. And in fact, there were a couple of upsets already. Namibia beat Sri Lanka by 55 runs, which is I mean, that's not even a small amount. They absolutely smashed them. And also Scotland beat West Indies, which is also another big upset. So out of the 5 matches happened so far, 2 went completely the opposite, and both those teams were. Namibia were 1.11 and West Indies were 1.08, so massive underdogs to win those matches. But yeah, so I mean, Australia are the tournament favorites, being the hosts, and I think probably the worthy favorites. I think they would probably be tied in as favorites if they weren't hosting, but I think they are worthy favorites, followed by India, England, Pakistan, and then South Africa. I think I told you the other day, Rob, I actually have an outright bet on Pakistan to win,
yes, you
win
did.
the World Cup at 9-1. Yeah, I don't have a hell of a lot to back that up, but I do. The 2 players that I really like in that team, I think they're just fantastic all rounders, and that's Azam and Rizwan. And I also got the biggest odds I could see locally and abroad, so I think I got pretty much the best price.
WSB, I think it was, eh?
Yes, at 9-1, and that was across the board, even with bookmakers abroad. So I think that was a nice price, especially for they've moved out into about 7 or up to 7-1 now, and they're joint third favorites. So I think it's quite a juicy punt. And obviously with T20 as well, absolutely anything can happen.
Yes.
I mean, it's such a coin flip. I mean, obviously there are some teams that just have no chance of winning, but at the same time, there are probably like 7 or 8 teams that they could easily go on a run of a bit of a lucky streak, and get there. So I think that's quite a nice price. But out of the games coming up, none of them look really exciting over the next couple days until the weekend. So on the weekend, we have New Zealand facing Australia. Obviously, they'll be playing away in Australia at the World Cup on Saturday, and then India faces Pakistan.
Yeah, that's going to be a cracker.
Yeah, so two good-looking games on Saturday and Sunday, but nothing really to get excited about until then. But those ones should be great. But yeah, overall, I'm really looking forward to the tournament. It's nice to have some T20 cricket, and I just wish that the games went all in the morning. But nevertheless,
yeah, what can you do? It is unfortunate. But all right, then we've got some GP Formula One coming up. Even though the season still races left, season has been decided. There was some more drama. I saw something about Red Bull being fined or someone accusing Red Bull of cheating. I didn't read.
Yeah, it's all about the. It's really not that interesting to go into, but it's all about the cost cap. So basically, they are. Some of the other teams, not just one, but it's mainly being driven by McLaren. Josh Brown, the owner, the manager of McLaren, is saying that they exceeded their cost cap. Because these teams try various things to sort of try and like mitigate their spend and so on, and it's quite a complicated thing. But basically, they are, trying to sort of decrown them by saying that they cheated essentially. But my feeling is it'll probably be overruled. And also, if the FIA admits something like that, they look like such arseholes anyway. They'll never do that.
Yeah.
So they might try and sort of change the rules for next year, but they're certainly not going to be like, oh, actually, sorry, we were wrong. Never mind, Red Bull, are going to lose points. They'll never do that. Anyway, so we had a break last week after the disastrous Japanese Grand Prix in Suzuka, which was obviously had so much rain and so many stops and starts and all sorts of drama. But yeah, back to racing again, and this it's the USA Grand Prix, one of two American Grand Prix. This is the original, which is in Texas at what's called the Circuit of the Americas. The other one, obviously, being Miami, and then it's either next year or 2024, Vegas will be added. I think it's next year. Vegas will be added, so there'll actually be 3 American Grand Prix, I think, from next season. I must be honest, I don't find this track or the weather or the spectacle of this race all that exciting. One thing I do look forward to, though, is Daniel Ricciardo always speaking like a Texan during his interviews. And he's quite a clown, and he's always like, and he actually has a really good Texas accent. Like, he's got a good Southern accent, so he always does all his interviews speaking like that, which is pretty funny. Looking at the odds,
Verstappen heavy favorite again, 1.5.
Yeah, 1.5. I think that's pretty much the same price as he was last week. I think he might have been 1.55, so slightly shorter. About as short as he's been all season. Obviously, Drivers' Championship now under wraps, so it's only the Constructors' Championship left to play for. And if Red Bull win this race, they will win the Constructors as well. So basically, it's all about to potentially all be over.
Yeah.
Red Bull 165 points clear of Ferrari, and unfortunately, Mercedes. I was expecting it to be a bit. It can change still. There's still 4 races to go, but Mercedes are kind of falling a little bit behind Ferrari now. They're 67 points behind the Silver Arrows. So. Look, Mercedes are gonna have to finish the last 4 races pretty strongly if they're gonna beat Ferrari to the end there for second place. But I think the most interesting duel, or the interesting prospect actually for the rest of the season, I think, is the duel between Leclerc and Perez, because Perez actually overtook Leclerc for the first time this season in the Drivers' Championship. Which means at the moment it's a Red Bull 1-2. Obviously have Verstappen, who's already won the championship, and now you have Perez, who's just a point or 2 ahead of Leclerc. So it's getting quite squiggly there. We should see what happens. Looking at the race itself, it's really hard to find a value bet. I think the markets they're so established.
Yeah.
All the contingencies have pretty much been priced in. Red Bull obviously will want to wrap up the Constructors' Championship as soon as possible. But if I had to have a bet, and if I had to have a bet, I'm really struggling to find anything. It would probably be to take Ferrari to beat Red Bull in this race. And the simple fact that, Red Bull obviously want to get it wrapped up, but at the same time, they have 4 races to do it. So, let's say Leclerc, let's say Verstappen or Perez have like a DNF. They don't finish the race, they crash out for some reason. Obviously, Leclerc signs very, very capable drivers. It wouldn't take a miracle for Ferrari to come out on top. If something like that happened at 4.5, fairly decent odds. So more of a speculative bet than anything else. But taking a bet like that, Ferrari over Red Bull might be your best shot at landing a winner. At sort of longish odds. Because I'm certainly not backing Max at 1.5.
No, not when it's all wrapped up. Yeah, it's just too short.
So I would look to something like that, but it is honestly, it's so hard. It's so hard to bet. I would just watch it.
Just avoid. Yeah, just watch it and avoid.
Yeah.
Not avoid any betting.
Yeah.
And then we're going to be heading down to Kenilworth this weekend for the
Yes.
launch of the Hollywood Bets Kenilworth track. I went down to the Deauville one a couple of weeks back. It was a blast, and I'll hopefully be putting together a nice little article on BSB and posting up some pictures and stuff. I'm sure it's going to be a great time. Hollywood Bet's always put together really entertaining and fun, and lots of stuff for the family and visitors and all of that to do. And it's my first time in Kenilworth, at Kenilworth in a long time. I haven't been down to that track in probably about 5 years. And,
Nice.
I used to go down for that prawn special that they had. I think it was like 120 rand for a kilo or half a kilo of prawns or whatever it was. But yeah, so it's going to be good. And I think that pretty much covers everything for this podcast. Simon, our bets of the week is what I'm taking here is Chelsea to beat Brentford. I'm taking unders in Man United versus Spurs. And then Liverpool to beat West Ham is giving me 5.55 with a boost over on Betway. Let me put that bet through quickly and you guys can see that booking code up there. X3886F043 is your booking code.
I'm gonna be pretty ballsy, and I'm gonna call a long shot here, and I'm gonna call Newcastle Spurs draw at 3.8 on Sunday.
All right, let's put one
straight up draw there. Yeah, so that's gonna be my call. Just a single, just a nice big odd single. I think that Newcastle can hold Spurs there.
All right, awesome. And then, guys, don't forget about that competition that I mentioned. You can get yourself a $100 one for you voucher if you guess what player I have from the early mid-2000s on the back of my old AC Milan shirt. I just can't believe that shirt cost me $1,200, Simon, for a football shirt. Right. I know.
Crazy.
I mean, I wanted one for so long. It's the first one that I've bought in so long. I'm looking for a Newcastle one, but unfortunately, very, very difficult to find. I've got old ones. But you have to buy them online, and these guys are a bit sus because they're imported from overseas, and I'm not sure if it's an actual Newcastle shirt. You know, I don't want to pay $1,000 for a knockoff.
A knockoff, absolutely.
Especially something that's coming from a kind of third-party vendor.
Yeah.
A little bit. You know, if it was something like Man United or Liverpool or something like that, then no problem, because you know those things are like that you can find those anywhere. But just so difficult to find Newcastle shirts. That is sold locally. But yeah, guys, thanks for tuning into the episode. Hopefully we pick up a winner this weekend. We've got a couple of bets running, and we'll catch you guys in the next episode. Have a good one. Cheers.